Welcome to the second part of the Raw BM 101 course. In this section, we'll be going over physiology. Physiology is essential to the study of biomedical engineering because primarily what people are focusing on is the study of people, their bodies, and how to improve their health within the field of biomedical engineering. And therefore, physiology is of great importance to help understand and learn more about the body, what needs to be fixed, and the general functions of people. In this section, we'll be just doing a basic introduction into physiology, as well as going over some of the different types of slices, movements, and general parts of physiology that is very important to understanding before we dive deeper into it. So, just a quick introduction on how biomedical engineering and physiology are related. Biomedical engineering, as we talked about in the previous section, is a multidisciplinary field of medical and engineering sciences, and you're combining them both together to provide help in the healthcare industry for people. Biomedical engineers have to know information about both the medical and engineering sciences in order to have a good understanding of what they're looking at, what they're working with, and to create advances in the field. So therefore, basic information about body structures and their mechanisms are very essential to communicate with medical staff. You can't create a device that helps improve body function if you don't know how the body works. And therefore, physiology is really important, as well as anatomy, to know how to improve the field of biomedical engineering. And therefore, anatomy and physiology are two very important and basic fields in the life sciences that are helpful incredibly within biomedical engineering, learning, and development. So let's give a quick definition of what anatomy and physiology are. The word anatomy is derived from Greek, and it means to cut up or to cut open. Human anatomy is about the body structures and the relationship between the body structures. And so when you're looking at the anatomy of a person, usually the body will look cut open so you can see inside of it and learn more about what you're looking at and how things work. Physiology provides information about the functions of each of these parts that you're looking at. So combined, anatomy and physiology help understand what the body will look like on the inside underneath your skin, and physiology helps understand what each of these parts do and how they work. So something also to note before we look into it is understanding the definitions and the ways that we describe the body when we're looking at it. Because if you say it is above one organ or if it is to the side of, it all depends on how the body is looked at. And therefore, it makes it a little difficult to have good understanding of different parts because there's a lot of things to look at within the body and you need to have a good frame of reference. So now let's talk a little bit about an anatomical position to help give you a better understanding on where to look. Standard anatomical position is a way of describing the anatomy of an organism, no matter what direction the organism is facing or where its appendages and limbs are. So therefore, you're able to describe things no matter which way the body is looking, by using different phrases, by comparing it to different locations within the body, and that helps a lot. However, the position used in anatomy and clinical medicine that allows for accurate and consistent description of one body part in relation to another is usually look like the image down below. And that way, you're able to understand more concisely and more accurately how to look at the body. And this overall function is that the head is directed forward with the eyes looking into the distance. The body is upright with the legs together, directed forwards, and the palms are turned forward and the thumbs are lateral. And that is the way that the body is normally looked at in the basic anatomical position to help give understanding on what the different body parts are and where they are in relation to the overall system. When the body is lying face up, it is called supine position, which is shown in the first image. When the body is lying face down, it is in the prone position, which is shown in the image below. So there are some words that you use in order to give you a better understanding on how to describe things. It is shown in this table below. I'll go through a couple of the main important ones, and they are used to describe how near or far a body part is from one end of the organism. So a couple that you probably are very familiar with are anterior and posterior, which means they're in front or behind a structure. Superior and inferior means it's above and below another structure. Deep means it's further away from the body. Surface and superficial means it's closer to the body surface. When it is medial, it means it's closer to the medial plane, which is as seen here. So it is relation to the middle of the body, but vertically. And then lateral means it's further away from the median plane, which is around here. And then proximal means it's closer to the trunk or origin, so around here. And distal means it would be closer away, such as where the feet are. Ipsilateral means it's on the same side of the body, and contralateral means it's on the opposite side of the body. And these are some of the basic words, and you can use them in relation to other organs to help describe where they are. So you can also combine these directions in order to have a better understanding of where things are. For example, an antero-inferior view combines the anterior and inferior region, which gives you a whole new view in which you can look down at the front of the body. Such as here, this kneecap here has an anto-inferior direction to that of the femur, which is here. And so that's just one way to describe things. Another way here would, just for example, the soleus muscle is on the posterior-inferior part of the leg. So these are just ways to describe it by combining the directions to give you a better understanding of where things are. In addition to this, another way of looking at the body is through anatomical planes. Planes are imaginary surface slices of the body. As you can see, here's one plane, here's another plane, there's a plane down here, and by using these planes, you're able to cut out a section of the body and look at it from that angle. There are three anatomical planes that are defined within the field of anatomy, and the anatomical locations can be described using the different types of terms and phrases that we looked at. So the median sagittal plane divides the body into symmetrical halves. So this could be the medial plane here, as it cuts the body in half. The coronal or frontal plane will divide the body to anterior and posterior parts, and that's this plane right here. Then lastly, the horizontal or transverse plane will divide the body to the superior and inferior parts. That's right here. This horizontal plane can be moved up and down, but the coronal and medial plane usually stay in that exact position. Lastly, before we get into more of just the systems and the organization of anatomy and physiology, we need to talk a little bit about anatomical movements, just because it's really important to understand what the types of movements are when we're talking about them within the field. Some of the standard movements are shown in this graph and graphical image below. Here is flexion and extension, as seen here as well. And then here's also flexion and extension, but this is with plantar and dorsiflexion, which is just specific for the types of movements of the toes. Then there's supination and pronation, which is the way you flip your palm. Circumduction, which is the rotating of an object. And eversion and inversion, which is the way you're moving your foot either in or out of the body. Then there are rotations that you can talk about laterally or medially, depending on which way you're rotating it, and adduction, which is moving the part of the limb up or down. And that is the conclusion of the basics of anatomy and physiology. I know it was a lot to take in, but over the next few lectures, we'll calm down. We'll just go into specifics, and it won't be as much information as this one. As always, if you need to go back and look over the information, I highly recommend you do so by either rewatching this lecture or looking through the lecture notes on your own time.